Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Monday, November 17th, 2014. And this is LiveTalk. I am Gibbs Dube.
And I'm Jonga Kandemiri.
Tonight on LiveTalk, we are talking about Vice President Joyce Mjuru's reaction to ZANU-PF factionalism.
To join our discussion, phone us directly at 001-202-619-2077 and we'll call you back.
LiveTalk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 meter wave frequency and on the 4930, 5940 and 15455 kilo shortwave Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
On the internet, you can find us at www.voanews.com. You can also find us on www.voazimbabwe.com, at www.voashona.com and at www.voaindebele.com.
When she finds herself defending against both the media and her counterparts in the political process, you would simply say she has lost the game, she's lost the gamble. And to then say that the allegations are unfounded is in political terms necessarily showing that she's on the defensive and not on the offensive, and therefore has lost the game.
Already the public prosecution in the ahambe ecourt ahambe court sonke sibone ukwenzile ukutenda lithi winter awenzile asengeke sikakwenza ukwenzile until icourt izitsho ukuthi umuntu lo wenzile.
Ndinofunga kuti zvakakosha kuti veruzhinji vazive pfungwa dzavo uye kuti vanofungei pamusoro pezviri kuitika, nekuti dzimwe nguva vakaramba vakanyarara zvinoratidza sekuti havasi kupokana nezvavari kupomerwa.
Thanks for joining us once again. You are listening to Studio 7 Live Talk. This evening we are talking about Vice President Joyce Mjuru's move to speak out on ZANU-PF factionalism ahead of the party's elective congress in December.
The Vice President has broken her silence, dismissing as malicious reports that she is corrupt, incompetent and attempting to overthrow President Robert Mugabe.
Mrs. Mjuru says she has actually briefed her lawyers about the allegations. This comes at a time when First Lady Grace Mugabe today urged President Robert Mugabe to dismiss the Vice President after making the same allegations. The other faction is said to be led by Justice Minister Emmerson Mnangagwa. But the two of these kind of ZANU-PF leaders have not confirmed that they are leading those factions. Jonka?
What do you think about this issue? If you wish to join the show, phone us directly at 001-202-619-2077 and we'll call you back. The number again, 001-202-619-2077.
Yeah, Jonga sesihlangana futhi ngomvulo mfowethu unga right.
Angiyaphila baba.
Awubone ke. So banjani abantwana?
Umthembo wesitemba.
Yeah, lapho cha kuhle mfowethu. Yeah, so lapha ke Jonga njobokwazi ke sixoxa ngodaba lokuthi unkosikazi Joyce Mjuru sephumela egcekeni ekhuluma lapha ngokuthi hayi khona ukukhulunywa ngabanye kubandla leZANU-PF akulunganga. So lapho ukhuluma ngokuthi abanye bathi kulobungilimbani abenzayo, abanye baphinde futhi bekhulume ngokuthi ungani ngomuntu othatha imali lapha lalapha ayithathe abeseyisebenzisa akufunayo. So ke yena uthi hayi lokho ayisoqiniso. Ukhipha umbiko izolo. Uthi embikweni lo ophuma izolo ke ongani yena uyakusola futhi kakhulu ukuthi abantu bathi ufuna ukugenqula uPresident Robert Mugabe. So uthi hayi konke lokho hayi ayisoqiniso. So ke uthi hayi yena akufunayo ukuthi abantu babekwazi ukuthi usebenzela uhulumende njalo lokho kubandla leZANU-PF. Ye kunjalo mfowethu.
Ndizvo zvovateereri nyaya iripo iri mudariro iri kutaurwa nasawira wangu Gibbs Dube ndeyekuti amai Mujuru vakaona kuti nyaya yekunzi hanzi kunyarara kunokunda zvose. Dzimwe nguva mwana asingacheme anofira mubereko. Vakafunga kuti regai ndizivise divi rangu kuburikidza negwaro rinonzi rakaburiswa naivo nezuro. Vachiti aiwa mhosva zhinji dzandiri kunzi ndiri kupomerwa idzi hapana chokwadi chiripo. Vari kudziramba mhosva idzodzo vachiti ndasvitsa nyaya kumagweta angu kuti atore matanho pamusoro penyaya yavari kupomerwa. Vakataura ivo nemazita mapepanhau eHerald neSunday Mail vachiti ndo vanenge ari kutungamira munyaya dzekuti vange vachisvibiswa sekutaura kwavari kuita. Vachiti ivo vanokoshesa zvikuru bumbiro rebato ravo reZANU-PF nebumbiro renyika uye kuremekedza mutungamiri wenyika vaRobert Mugabe vakasarudzwa nevanhu kuti vange vachishandira vanhu. Naiwo amai Mujuru vachiti ndakasarudzwa nevanhu kuti ndinge ndichishandira vanhu saka ndichatevera zvido zvevanhu. Saka pane nyaya yake
ya lapha kungani kulokukhuluma silokhona akuthi sibale kancane ukuthi u10 court I deny any and all the allegations of treason, corruption, incompetence and misuse of public office being routinely made against me in the Herald and the Sunday Mail newspapers. I've briefed my legal practitioners to take the necessary steps at law to restore my good reputation, political standing and dignity. I stand ready to defend myself before the party and in any court of law on any of the allegations made against me at any time in accordance with the laws of Zimbabwe. I think she's very clear here on exactly what she's saying. So ke khona manje ke Zulukandaba uyakhuluma sibili uMrs Mjuru kube ngithi unkosikazi Mjuru esithi hayi khona ukuvela abantu abakhulumayo yikuchaya iganga akuvela kukho kunye. So I think we are joined by our guest right now, Jonga. In London, we've got Mr. Alex Makaisa, who is a former advisor of MDCT leader Morgan Tsvangirai, and Mr. Makaisa is also a political analyst. Mr. Makaisa, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And in Bulawayo, we've got Mr. David Ndlovu, who is a ZANU-PF Central Committee member. Mr. Ndlovu, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Jonga?
Makadi Vandlov Makadi Linjan.
We are
Vama Gaisa Makadi.
Ndiripochose Makadiko.
Aiwa ndiri mupenyu zvikuru vana veZimbabwe nhasi vanotarisirwa kunzwa zvamunofunga nezvamuri kuona nezviri kuitika mubato reZANU-PF. Vamwe vari kuti nyaya dzacho dzanyanya dziri kubuda ende dziri kuramba dzichingobuda dzichirova divi rimwe chete. Hanzi akaiwa kare kainzi munhu wemurume harohwe tsvimbo imwe chete, hanzi unorohwa mbiri kana nhatu wozotootisa. Ameno kuti tichanzwa kuti muri kuzviona sei Gibbs?
Yeah, I think we are joined by a third guest, and that is Mr. Nkululeko Spanda, who is a political analyst based at Huddersfield University in London. Mr. Spanda, good evening and welcome to the program. Mr. Spanda, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Good evening and thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. We thought maybe you were in a drum, eh?
I have a Tennessee line here. I'm on a mountain.
Well, okay, good. So we'll start with you, Mr. Ndlovu. Mr. Ndlovu, give us an update about exactly what is going on in the party right now. We see that Mrs. Mjuru has actually come out in the open and said all the allegations leveled against her are totally untrue. Go ahead, Mr. Ndlovu.
Well, what I can say is that it's now here with against what other party members are saying. And for us, we're here to see what the outcome will be.
But Mr. Magaisa, after issuing this statement, do you see Vice President Mujuru mending a reputation as she is saying in the statement? Mr. Magaisa?
We had an avalanche from one side against her, and this has been covered mostly by the state media, and she hasn't responded to the allegations. So this is the first time that she's coming out and making a denial. So we can expect that we'll be hearing more. Whether or not she would be able to mend the reputation, I think that's a question to be judged by time and events. But it's important that she has come up and had a say on the matter, because I think people were wondering when she would speak.
Thank you so much, Mr. Makaisa. Mr. Spanda, give us your take about this issue.
I think that what is certainly telling is the fact that we are now almost clear about which one of the two factions in ZANU-PF is having an upper hand on this matter. It is clear now that the Mnangagwa faction is certainly more organized, not more savvy as compared to the Mujuru faction. And they've almost, in political terms, been outwitted, all systems down. And I think that if you look at the reaction to what has been said and how the messages have been given out, it is certainly very weak. In my view, based on that alone, you would be able to say that it doesn't seem to me as though Mrs. Mjuru has a lot more days in politics and in ZANU-PF unless she decides, which is my suggestion to her, if she would take it, unless she decides to, hang the boots and try to look for some accommodation within the Mnangagwa faction itself. That, to me, seems to be, at the moment, the only option available for her, unless she can pull out a new one, unless she still has some tricks that she hasn't been willing to share with us, which may be a useful political tactic.
Siyeke baba Ndlovu, ubona ngazani ke kungaba lokubambana yini sokufika ke ikhongolose kumbe singathi ke unkosikazi uMjuru uvele selahliwe ngoba nxa usukhangela baba Ndlovu ungabona ama structures eparty ukuthi asebenjani kukhanya ngazani abantu abaningi asebekhijiwe yilabo kade ngani ubecatshangelwa ukuthi basekela unkosikazi Mjuru. Akusitshele baba Ndlovu ukuthi kungathi wani ubona njani khonapho?
Oh, not say our provinces akhipha abantu abaningi izizathu zawo and thina ngize ngobulawayo izizathu lami ngiyazizwa. They are giving their own reasons as to why they are doing that. So thina kuzakuba njani kumbe ngithi ngaba abantu, but as far as I know ama-provinces anika izizathu zawo ezokuthi babakhiphile nabantu bonabo bakhiphile. So ngiyizenzakalo ezenzakalayo khona hali kuma-provinces angifuna ngayo. So mina engingakudiscussa ngokwangapha kobulawayo ngoba mina ngokobulawayo.
Khuluma ngokobulawayo sizwe sibili baba. Khuluma sibili. Ukhulekile kakhulu. Qhubeka Ndlovu.
Ngokobulawayo. Yeah. Well, I think a vote of no confidence passes against the chairman and 5 others. And today, bahlangene i-44 province. Now I understand now the counter moved the vote of no confidence against that those who were in the meeting yesterday. So the outcome I'm sure what will happen. Well, petition today there was a meeting as far as I know province.
So what Mr. Ndlovu is saying is that these leaders that have been removed, it appears as if there were some reasons that were given by those people that are getting rid of them. But at the end of the day, he says he cannot speak on behalf of the provinces. So he was saying in Bulawayo, there was a meeting today, that was organized by both sides, but they were not in the same meeting, I guess. So at the end of the day, it was a question of them expressing whatever they wanted to say. So, but I think there is something that is going on here. A lot is going on. Right?
I know. But maybe what listeners are lacking is what's coming from those closed-door meetings.
That's right.
And when they come out, are we getting what exactly transpired from the meetings, or we are getting someone who is saying what he wanted or what he wants the public to know?
Let's hope Mr. Ndlovu will just give us some hints, Yeah, so go ahead and take a caller.
Okay, tine mutereri mukoma Samaita vari kuZimbabwe. Makadi mukoma Samaita?
Inofara makadini.
Takasimba iyi Samaita mbizi here.
Tagandura chaiyo.
Ndizvozvo pindai muchirongwa nyaya iri mudariro ndiyoyo. Tinonzwa kuti mai Mujuru vane gwaro ravakanyora nezuro vachiramba mhosva dzavari kupomerwa. Asi sekunzwa kwamuri kuita vadare vedu pane vamwe vari kuti tsamba yacho hongu vakanyora asi haina udzamu kana uremu hwavanga vachitarisira kuti ingadai yakaitwa. Tauraiwo pfungwa dzenyu.
Yeah, of course, ingava isina zvayo udzamu asi nongoti mistake yekutanga. Kana vakaramba vachipinda mukati pamwe vachazodura zvakawanda. Tinongotarisira kuti ivo vazvimiriri vezvakasimba. Asi kuti dambudziko riripo nderekuti vanhu vemuZANU-PF kazhinji vanoita sekuti mapara vose, watanga ndio unoita sekuti une simba. Havana kuita sevamwe kuti vangadai votodoswa kuti hamuna Mujuru nechaunga chavanga vanacho ichi. Tingadai todotarisira kuti pamwe vachadoronga rimwe bato rakasimba zvikuru kudarika raMnangagwa. Ndosapoti vana vari kudarika Mnangagwa.
Saka imi munotenda here kuti hongu kune zvipoka zviri kutaurwa izvi muZANU-PF nokuti mubato munorambwa kunzi hamuna zvipoka izvozvo asi tinonzwa munhu mumwe chete achingopomerwa mhosva yekunzi ndiye ari kutungamira chikwata.
Right, hapana kutsika kunofungaira pasina moto mwana mai. Vanhu vakatotanga vachakavanza asi pari zvino jira ravanga vakafuka harisipo. Vava pabani vose. inooneka munangwagwa yeyi ndio inodonyanya kuvapa bani because iri kuputsa zvirongwa zvamai mujuru kumaprovinces ose ndo zvinodoradza kuti arimo mai mujuru kuda kana kuda kupepuka weizvozvi kuti vazvinyiririre.
Aiwa maita basa tinoimba kuti ruzhinji ruri kuteerera zvamuri kutaura nekutambira pfungwa dzenyu. Gibbs, what Mr. Samaita, a caller from Zimbabwe, saying is I think this is a good step for Ms. Mujuru to start with. She can not just start out by attacking the other side, but what she has done is to clarify the situation. Maybe she has more to follow, we don't know, but this is a good step in the right direction from what he sees. Yeah.
So if you've just joined us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about Vice President Joyce Mjuru's reaction to ZANU-PF factionalism. Mrs. Mjuru has dismissed allegations that she is corrupt, incompetent, and attempting to topple President Robert Mugabe ahead of the party's National Congress. So now we'll go back to you, Mr. Makaisa. So you have heard here a caller is saying a lot about what may be going on in the party. And people, like what Jonga is saying, people may not be sure of where the party is going. But at the end of the day, Mr. Makaisa, do you see any chances of the party splitting before the Congress?
Well, you know, the problem is that politics is a very selfish business. People look after themselves more than the collective. So what you have noticed, there's been a sustained assault on Mujuru for the past 4 or 5 weeks, in which time those who have tried to stand up and speak on his behalf, like Rugare Gumbo, have been shown the door. And the party provincial chairpersons who were aligned to her have also been shown the door. Jabulan Banda, who tried to speak on her behalf, has also been shown the door. So what you are going to notice is that it depends on how the people who are pro-Mujuru are going to react to the circumstances that are currently ongoing. If they stick by her, take a principled approach and stick by her, then of course you might say that she might be able to stand on her own 2 feet and perhaps learn something. But the reality in politics is that people grow cold feet and they choose the most comfortable position, the most comfortable corners. And the risk for Mujuru is that those who are backing her may now be gravitating towards what they see or what appears to be the winning side. And that would be a big problem. We have had that in 2008, before that election, Simba Makoni, when he left ZANU-PF, there were those who were supposed to go with him. Eventually, they did not go. And he was left without a lot of support in terms of the big pillars from ZANU-PF. So this is the big risk that Madam Mujuru faces, in that she may be left alone. Already the other faction has systematically decimated the pillars, the supporting pillars, the provincial chairperson and other people, and that may leave you isolated. The question is, how are her friends going to react in the face of this onslaught?
Thank you, Mr. Magaisa. And stay on the line, Gibbs. We have another caller, Mr. S. Garadi. Evari Zimbabwe. Mkoma Garadi Magadi.
Tinofara Magadi yenyu mkoma.
Ndiri mpenyu muri dunhu ripiko?
Ndiri muChinhoyi.
Mashonaland West.
Mashonaland West, that's correct.
Tinonzwa kuti ikoko kwakabvawo vote of no confidence. Tiudze kuti kwakamira sei kuMashonaland West.
Panyaya iyi kuMashonaland West munongoziva zvinoita muzano, vanhu vezano havaite zvinhu zvinenge zviri zvavo zvokufunga, but vanotumwa kuti vaite zvinhu zvavanenge vasingade kuti vaite. Paishu yamai Mujuru, handiona amai Mujuru vari munhu anga achidiwa nevanhu sokuziva kwavanoita, but nekuda kwokuti vari kuvatya vakuvanenedzera ishe nhengo. Inini ndangofarira kuti ndipinde paishu nekuda kwekuda kutaura zvavari kuvapomera kuti mai Mujuru vane corruption. Mukada kuziva kwa corruption kuti yakamira sei muno muZimbabwe, corruption inotangira kuna Mugabe ndikuno corruption. Saka vazhinji vavari kunenera ava havatiwo vane corruption. Because munhu wese kudai vaMugabe vanga vasine corruption, otherwise vanhu vese vazhinji vese vari kunenedzera nyaya dzecorruption vangadai vakasungwa. Saka pavari kutsvaga ishu nyaya dzekuda kupomera amai Mujuru, but amai mujuru vari munhare tirini. But however, amai mujuru kana vakabva vakamira vega kuti vamira ZANU-PF inotsemuka nepakati zvokuti havazombofa makainzwa futi, inozobuda musitaira zvachose. Ini ndemuonera wangu wandiri.
Asi vagara dhimanzwa mumwe mudaro wedu achitaura kuti amai mujuru vakada kutora nzira yekuti vabude mumusangano weZANU-PF panogona kuita dambudziko serakaitika pakaumbwa bato remavambo vasimba makoni vachibuda kuZANU-PF. Vakavimbiswa nevamwe vari muZANU-PF kuti enda tinokuteera, asi hazvina kuzoitika. Hamuone pachiita dambudziko rimwe chete iroro?
Handione pachiita dambudziko iroro nokuti amai mujuru nanasimba makoni zvakasiyana. Because amai mujuru she is the most powerful person muZANU-PF. Zvokuti zvavari kuita izvo zvavari kuona kuti amai mujuru vanosimba. Zvokuti vakangobva chete, then you will forget about the ZANU-PF.
Aiwa maita basa mkoma Garadi. Gibbs, our caller is, he thinks that Miss Mujuru, if she leaves ZANU-PF, she can make a formidable opposition to ZANU-PF that can even decimate ZANU-PF, some members, powerful people following her. And as one of our panelists said, this might also lead to a downfall, looking at what happened when Mwawambo was formed. But Mr. Garadi is saying, no, that will not happen. She is stronger than Simba Makoni. We don't know. We have to hear from our panelists.
Let's hear from Mr. Spanda.
Yes.
Mr. Spanda. Mr. Spanda, your reaction to that?
Yes, I'm here. I think that it is certainly not possible that Mrs. As a matter of fact, we are today is the 17th of November, and we are just over a month before the ZANU-PF Congress. Maim Juru has no time to recover from the position she is at, and because by the time they go into the Congress, there is a clear front runner and a clear underdog. Right, unless she's playing a serious underground game that we are not privy to. Given the facts that we're privy to, Maim Juru's game is done. They've beaten all systems out. They will beat her on war credentials because Mnangagwa has those war credentials. They will beat her on affirmative action on the basis of her being a woman because they brought Mrs. Mugabe into the game. They will beat her on her alliance, on claiming that she must be powerful based on association with a deceased husband, because actually the most powerful person you could ever be espoused to is President Mugabe. So I don't see what claim she can make now, as it seems very clear that the other faction has been able to look at all her weaknesses and strengths and counteract them, and that her response has been very weak. But let me say one thing that people aren't realizing here. What has happened effectively is that Mugabe's ball game has been won, in the sense that it is now very unlikely that the party will continue to be split for as long as there is a clear front runner. Because yes, as Magaisa has said, it is very true. Most of Mujuru supporters are now going to necessarily gravitate towards the winning side or shut up and wait to see what happens at the Congress. So Mugabe has won. It seems to me as though he's now going to be able to go to Congress with an almost unified party, in the sense that there's going to be general agreement on who's going to take over and so forth, and that fight is going to be gone, and perhaps save the country a civil war.
And Mr. Ndlovu, there are calls from many quarters within ZANU-PF, including the War Veterans Association, calling for Ms. Mujuru to resign before the Congress. Today we saw a group of students that went to Mazoe Farm. They also called for the resignation of Ms. Mujuru. And as my brother Blessing Zulu would always say, that a fly that lacks advice follows the coffin into the grave. Is she not heeding the advice that all these quarters are saying?
There's one thing which I want to say. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. I'm saying there's one thing which I want to say, which I had the last contributors talking about fund run and whatever.
Yes.
Now, when at Congress, apparently the president, we have already agreed that Arakim Bar is going to be the president of the party. There is no problem there. We have already agreed that my president will lead the Women's League. The rest, the president will appoint the deputy. So the question of someone contesting will not arise because the president will appoint the presidium. So the question of who is going to raise who will not arise.
So,
now, with regards to what do you say?
No, I wanted to come back to you again on my question that, so if you say the president is going to appoint whoever, it means that there is no need to call for a resignation before the Congress because already she is out of the race if the president doesn't want her.
Yeah, actually, it's up to the president to appoint who the vice president will be. It's up to the president.
So Mr. Ndlovu,
for the calls for her to resign, where I can say that individuals feel like we are a free country, individuals are free to say whatever they want to. And she may take or she may not take that advice, up to the vice president to take that one. For the reasons they are giving there, and she has given her reasons for no refusing, and they are giving their reasons for her to resign. So that is the issue.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Ndlovu. But before you go, so if the president, like what Mr. Chonga is saying, if the president is going to appoint vice presidents, there's absolutely no reason why people should be fighting. So the suspicion is that maybe before the Congress, the party is going to change some goalposts. Is that not the case? Is that not what she's sensing here?
It's not about changing goalposts per se. You know, there are certain things which people tend to say which are obvious. And I personally have always wondered why people are saying certain things. Take, for instance, I want to give one example. The president of the party, constitutionally, as the leader of the party, is, in terms of our constitution, represents the party in government, meaning that he is the presidential candidate in any government election by the fact that he is president of the party. That's what the constitution says. But we find people nominating the president as the presidential candidate. But when the constitution clearly states that he is already the leader of the party and the presidential candidate. So those are the sort of things that people, I normally say, why are they doing that? But they continue to do those things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndlovu, and stay on the line. We've got a caller on the line, Chonga, and that is Dr. Chikwala. Dr. Chikwara, how are you? Dr. Chikwara, I guess? Chikwara. How are you, Dr. Chikwara?
Yes.
Yeah, can you give us your take on this issue? What do you think about the goings on in ZANU-PF and what the Vice President said? Can you walk around a little bit, Dr. Chikwarara? Can you walk around a little bit? We can't hear you.
You can hear me now.
Now we can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Right. I'm saying what the Vice President is saying as of now, it's a positive note because she has been quiet for some time, and the problem is what he has just kept this field of taxation.
Can you hold on a second? Just hold on a second, Dr. Chikwarara. Dr. Chikwarara, hold on a second. We'll come back to you. Don't leave. So to Dr. Makaisa and Mr. Ndlovu and Mr. Kulego Spandak, please hang on there. We are going to come back to you. Wish to say goodbye to our radio listeners, and for those with access to the internet, visit us at www.voazimbabwe.com. This is Gibbs Dube in Washington, D.C. Stay tuned.
And I'm Chonga Kandemiri, totovateereri rambai muripo tinemi kwemamwe maminutes makumi matatu 30 minutes. For
For those that have just joined us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about Vice President Joyce Mjuru's reaction to ZANU-PF factionalism. Mrs. Mjuru has dismissed allegations that she is corrupt, incompetent, and attempting to topple President Robert Mugabe ahead of the party's elective congress. And our guests tonight are Dr. Alex Makaisa, former advisor to MDCT leader Moken Tsvangirai. He is also a political analyst based in London. Then we've got Mr. David Ndlovu, who is a ZANU-PF Central Committee member. He is in the city of Queens and Kings, that is Bulawayo. Then we've got Mr. Nkule Osbanda, who is a political analyst based at Huddersfield University. And on the line, we've got Mr. Shkwarara. But before we go cross over, Mr. Chonga?
Ndinoimba kuti vachikwarara vanga vachida kutaura zvavarida kutsanangura ngatimbovapai mukana zvavanenge vatipa tochizviziva nevadare vedu.
Very well said. Dr. Chikwarara, can you continue from where you left? But the question is, what do you think about this kind of unfolding of events in ZANU-PF?
Right. Thank you so much for the time. Right. What I think right now is that what she has done a good thing for the nation to know what exactly she is thinking about. The problem that ZANU-PF has done for the past 34 years, they have kept this seed of succession under the carpet. And right now, they have the seed have germinated in the wrong way. You see, we are talking about factionalism right now in ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF has been in power for the past 34 years without a proper protocol for succession. Succession itself, it has to be done democratically with the Democrats who think that if we do this, we can create the future of the party and the future of the country. Right now, we are spending much of our time talking about factionalism rather than talking about developing the country. Ms. Mjuru, she is an experienced politician of the country, and the vice president of the country. She has the power, she has the following, she has the guts, she has everything that she deserves to be the leader of the party, or within ZANU-PF, or in any other party that she may form or she may be formed in the country. ZANU-PF is not relevant. She never did it, but it wasn't properly manifested and properly crafted. That's why Ramakondi went alone. So right now, we have got a situation that we can see with our eyes that she has got the power, she has got the support, and she has got the best that she deserves to be the leader of the ZANU-PF or the other party. Right now, I think she has to do the honorable thing, just to say, if ZANU-PF and the leaders of ZANU-PF and those who the enemies of ZANU-PF, if they can say they don't want her anymore, she has got the power, she has got the experience, she has got everything. She has to form the party, another party that she's going to lead, and we are definitely saying she has got the following.
But can she actually survive outside ZANU-PF? Can she survive outside ZANU-PF?
Hello?
Can she survive outside ZANU-PF politically?
Politically, she can survive outside ZANU-PF systems. Because right now, these people that the faction, they know that she has got the power. You see? So, as an experienced politician, she has the groundwork that she has to craft with those who are following her so that she can form a political party. Because as of now, she is the enemy of ZANU-PF. And ZANU-PF is the enemy of Joyce Mjuru.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chikwarara, and we hope that you're going to come back even tomorrow and discuss some of these issues with us. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much.
Yes,
Thank you. Regai timboenda kuna vamagaisa munoona bato reZANU-PF richizenge rakasimba zvakadii panoendwa kusarudzo dza2018 mushure mekongresi iri kuitwa tichiona kucheneswa kunonzi nevamwe kutsvairwa kuri kuitwa mubato. Tinoona kuti masachigaro ematunhu anokwana kuita masere 8 provincial chairman vari kunzi vane mhosva vapiwa mavote of no confidence nezvimwe zvakadaro. Tinonzwawo zvakare kuti mutsvairo iwe uri kuda kusvitswa kune masachigaro ematunhu madiki atingati madistricts. Munoona bato richizobuda rakachena zvakadii uye kusimba panosvika sarudzo dza2018?
Well, first of all, let me say, Kuti, people we work under very wrong assumptions about Zimbabwean politics and this issue of power transfer and elections. Elections are held; they are rituals. They are not supposed to change anything. ZANU-PF's power is not so much that it has many more people than other political parties. No. ZANU-PF's power is that for the past 34 years, they have consistently reconfigured the structures of power. Every institution in Zimbabwe that is publicly owned or has a public connection is manned by a ZANU-PF person, is manned by ZANU-PF people. It is imbued in the culture of ZANU-PF. So the whole structure, there are many things that happen, underneath what we see when we go to an election. I often ask people, do you know of a committee known the logistics committee? That is a committee that actually runs elections compared to, for example, ZEC itself. ZANU-PF runs those things. ZANU-PF, I do not think, has any fear of elections. They made the mistake in 2008 and almost slipped up. But I think they've since regrouped from that in terms of monitoring those systems. So the issue about whether ZANU-PF goes into 2018 as a stronger party, united party, is not the issue. The issue is whether they are still able to maintain the control, the hold that they have on institutions of power that facilitate the transfer of power or the hold on power. ZANU-PF is still very strong in that. For me, the question is whether Maimujuru and her people have the know-how, have the hold, the same hold that the other faction may have in regard to those institutions. Because MDC, where we had problems, is that yes, we were contesting, yes, we had the numbers, but even the 4 years that the MDC was in there was not able to penetrate these structures of power. The only thing that might happen with the Mujuru and others going their way, if they do, is that at least for the first time, we'll be having an opposition that will have an inside knowledge, an inside account of what actually happens, and also maybe a foothold in how those institutions operate.
Mr. Ndlovu, are you still on the line?
Yes.
Now, I think you heard what Mr. Makaisa was saying. Basically, is it difficult for people within ZANU-PF to leave the party and form their own entities and then win elections? Is it possible? What's your view, really?
Okay, well, I was just listening. Now, Vice President Mujuru, the call for you to relinquish your post as Vice President of the party. I don't know whether there's a call for you to leave ZANU-PF, but whether people can leave ZANU-PF and win an election, well, they all know. Because we don't know whether there can be another party we can organize. I don't know. But I don't think anybody people were advocating for that she forms their own opposition party. They were advocating for you to step down as vice. I was just following events as vice president of ZANU-PF, not for you to resign from ZANU-PF.
Mr. Sibanda, can your take on this issue? Go ahead, please.
I think that it is important to realize that, yes, elections certainly don't get won on the basis of who's competing. We know that this happens not just in ZANU-PF. This happens in the MDC. You realize how the MDC itself fired its chairpersons and reorganized its structures before elections and so forth to organize its party systems. So this is what happens within the broad spectrum of established political parties in Zimbabwe. And that unless you have that institution which has sufficient time to develop, you are not going to be able to succeed. Now, it's not really just in reference to Mrs. Mujuru here, but it's in reference to anybody who thinks politically at all or wants to have political power. Zimbabwe has slowly become, if you like, starting off as a one-party state, it has slowly become a one-party power state and a two-party system, where actually what you would call political space that is occupiable by any entity is already taken up by both the MDC and ZANU-PF. The MDC standing on the side of who want to remove Mugabe, which certainly may itself dwindle as soon as Mugabe is not the focal point. But you then have Mugabe that stands as an icon with reference to independence and the war, which is erroneous. And not anybody who moves away, anybody who doesn't win Mugabe's support on the matter of who are the real heroes who must continue ruling the country, will not get anywhere. The victory that Mnangagwa has thrown, the point that they won this debate, the point that they won this race, was when they managed to get Grace Mugabe on side. From that point on, anybody else against Grace was against President Mugabe. And for that reason, it is not winnable. President Mugabe is the institution. President Mugabe will determine who wins the election. And therefore, unless Joyce Mujuru can be able to get somebody else, maybe Bona, I suggest she must try and talk to Bona and put her on the road. Fail anything below that, she's not going anywhere. She is done.
Uyakhuluma lapho Sibande.
Yeah.
Uyatsho ukuthi hayi kungazana kunzima. Kunzimela ngalo nkosikazi Mjulu.
I know. Hanzi zviri kuvaomera.
Hanzi kunzima mfowethu.
Yeah. Aiwa rambai muri parunhare tine muteereri mukoma Blessing vari kuSouth Africa. Mukoma Blessing makadi?
Mari zvenyu.
Ndiri mupenyu ndazwa kuti muchatibatsira kutaura nechiZezuru, motaura zvakare nechikiwa. Tangai zvenyu nechiZezuru.
Ndakwanisa chichona zvangu.
Haro waichishona ichocho.
Ndikati ngapero tiwa icho kwade chachuda kutwa na wamjura.
Amuri kuti angataura chokwadi ndiani chavataura here mutsamba yavo yavanyora vachiramba zvavari kupomerwa kana kuti vari kuvapomera ndo vamuri kuti havasi kutaura chokwadi?
Ndikuti vari kuvapomera havasi kutaura chokwadi.
Ichitipai pfungwa kuti sei muri kufunga kuti hachisi chokwadi, nokuti hanzi nevamwe hapana hutsi hunoitika pasina moto.
Koiyo vananzi vacho vari kubvuma iri mhosva yavo yavapomerwa.
Vakuru kazhinji pachivanhu zvinonzi pachivanhu chinonzi mbavha imbati, ukanga usina kumubata munhu haabvume kuti ndapara mhosva, asi saka pachizoferefetwa dzimhosva dzichiongororwa kusvika munhu abvuma kuti hongu ndairamba hangu asi ndini ndakazviita. Chitipai pfungwa dzenyimi kuti voferefetwa here vagochenurwa nematare edzimhosva kana kuti zvavari kungopomerwa vototambira izvozvo?
Ngavangotambira zvavari kupomera izvozvo, bondo zvacho zviripo zvacho.
Saka muri kuti nechidimu muri kuti votambira mhosva dzavari kupomerwa vobva vasiya basa?
Ya, ngavatambire mhosva dzavari kupomera izvozvo. Bvunza hapana munhu anganyepirwa kuzi aita chakati asina kuita.
Zvakaoma. Muri dunhu ripi kuSouth Africa?
Ndiri muJoburg.
Muri muJoburg. Asi muri kuteerawo zvakadii nyaya dzezviri kuitika kumusha muri muJoburg?
Kungoti handisi kunyatsa kupiwa rizere because ndiri kuti mameseji ndinoona after 2 days handisi kuona every day.
Aiwa, maita basa mukoma Blessing, tichaedza kuti munge muchiwana mameseji sekuda kwamuri kuita. Nhamba dzenyu tinadzo tichange tichizvitarisa. Maita basa. Gibbs, Mr. Blessing is saying that Mr. Mujuru, why can't she just accept these allegations and then she quits?
Yeah, that's very interesting. He's raising some very interesting issues there. And if you've just joined us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, We are talking about Vice President Joyce Mjuru's reaction to ZANU-PF factionalism. And our guests are Dr. Alex Makaisa, former advisor to MTCT leader Moken Tsvangirai, and we've got Mr. David Ndlovu, a ZANU-PF Central Committee member, and Mr. Nkululeko Sibanda, a political analyst based at Huddersfield University. Jonga, I think we've got some messages on WhatsApp and Facebook. So let's start with WhatsApp. What do we have there?
Our first, it's Tatenda. Okay, I was missing the name. Our first respondent who has responded to this discussion is Tatenda, who says President Robert Mugabe must solve all the problems in Zimbabwe, not to point fingers on individuals and blame sanctions. Mujuru is innocent. Then we have Venge, who says these are trumped up charges which will never stick in a court of law. We all know how ZANU-PF operates. Then we also have Mupofu, who says now that they are pointing at each other as ZANU-PF, we as Zimbabweans are saying thanks God. May they keep on fighting. God is now doing his duty. They always thought God is not for us all. Please may the Lord Father make them fight and fight. That's someone. And then we have Shepherd, who says no one has clean hands in ZANU-PF. So for anyone to point a finger at Miss Joyce Mujuru is really malicious. Now 8 provincial chairpersons are under siege for supporting Miss Mujuru. So who really supports Mr. Mugabe? That's a question. I don't know who will answer that. But
I think one of our panelists will answer that question. Yeah. So now on Facebook, we've got Kwawinya, who writes, God bless you, our mother, we love you. Then Fore says, Mrs. Mjuru can do anything to the president, not in a very bad way, but you can even overthrow him. Then we've got Pote, who writes, don't give up my Mjuru, Zimbabwe is behind you. This humiliation is not a threat or problem, but a challenging truth that you deserve and have the qualities to lead. As a former guerrilla, you know hardships, but these hardships are shallow and weak as they are being perpetrated by shallow minds. We love you here in Mberengwa West. She's loved there, right? Then what Cassius Jays is Mana who writes, this is not good at all. I think Mrs. Mjuru must stay away from the Congress that is coming, because if she attends that Congress, then the worst might happen to her. She must just stay away, because it's quite clear to everyone that this Congress might be used to humiliate her and force her to quit her position in the party and government. And then we've got Temba Nyanga, who writes, it's too late. In Dabale, in Zima. This issue is very difficult to... So now I think we can go back to our panelists. Dr. Makaisa, we'll start with you. Apparently, we're reading a certain article that you actually penned, in which you are saying this succession matrix is not that Mr. Mugabe wants to have any person to succeed him, but it's a question of him actually oppressing one faction that is believed to be very powerful at the expense, to promote the other that is weak. Give us your take on that. I think it was an interesting article to read.
Well, I mean, my point really stems from the fact that I do not think that President Mugabe has any intentions of leaving office until he dies. I do not think that he intends to hand over power to anyone. In 2004, we saw that Emerson Mnangagwa was in the ascendancy. He had the control of the provinces that Mujuru has had in the last few years. He was the one who would have succeeded, who would have become the vice president. But he was thwarted. We all remember the Cholocho Declaration, which led to the decimation of his own faction. Professor Jonathan Moyo went into the wilderness for quite some time. And the others were demoted, other chairpersons, and Mnangagwa himself became a minister of rural housing and rural amenities, or some such small ministry, which was effectively a demotion. And at that point, the Mujuru faction was in the ascendancy. They, I think, believed that they were now closer, they were within reach of the presidency. And now what the president has done, what Mugabe has done, is to now elevate the other faction, as Nkululeko has said, that faction was able to align with Grace Mugabe, got into President Mugabe's good books, And now President Mugabe is using that faction in order to dethrone those who thought they were closer to taking his position. But I do not think that his intention is to prop up Mnangagwa or any of those who are closer to him. I think he wants to remain, but he wants to make sure that even if he goes, the position will be left to someone that he believes will be better able to protect his family. And I think that person may not be any of the two competing factions at the moment. It may be someone who is lurking in the background, who is the favor of President Mugabe.
Well said, Mr. Makaisa, but at the end of the day, I think some people may oppose your views. Baba Ndlovu, ungawubona njani ngakho okukhulunywe ngumnumzana uMakaisa?
Ya, isi into engikhasaza ukuthi abantu bonke bakhuluma ngokuthi Mugabe succession. Mina, my understanding is that a constitutional party, a party elects two president. Currently, Comrade R.H. Mugabe has been elected the president of the party. And when the Congress have affirmed him as the presidential candidate, then in Congress, I don't know, after 5 years, 2014, 2019, those are we are nominations, our presidential candidate. Those are nominated for the president, not so nominated. That's how I see these things happening in terms of the constitution. I'm just inciting the constitution which is a Congress shall elect a president. And it doesn't say what the current president shall appoint to successor. Now, who call constitution? Constitution says the president, the Congress shall elect. Currently elected Mugabe as the party president. And they have affirmed him. Next year, the Congress, the Constitution says the Congress shall elect a president. So a question is, president is thinking about appointing a successor. There is no provision in the Constitution. The Constitution talks about electing the president of the party.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Stay on the line. Gibbs, tanzwa kuti pamusangano waitwa kumazowe. Tinonzwa kuti vechidiki vambokikiritsa mumwe wechidiki zvakare ari muprovinsi yeHarare, utungamiri weprovinsi yeHarare.
Bate.
Hanzi vachida kumubvisa pamusangano zvikanzi iwe uriwe kuchikwata chinotsigira amai mujuru. Hanzi paita basa. Ndo kuipa kuri kuita zvinhu. Isi tafunga kuti vana vechikoro vaenda kunoona amai Mugabe. Hanzi kwava kune vechidiki vanga vachitodzura vanhu vanga vari imomo. Ndo kuipa kwazviri kuita. Tine muteereri mukoma Moses vari kuSouth Africa. Mukoma Moses makadi? Mukoma Moses. Makadi mukoma? Aiwa, tiri wapenyu. Taurai zviri kuitika nezvamuri kuona nekunzwa. Muri kuvunza here kana kuti muri kutaura kuti ndo zviri kuitika?
Kuita yokuonzwa taona mameseji apinda pazuva ranhasi zvizvo vari kuda kubva vada kuongororwa nyaya dzacho.
Saka munoti nenyaya idzodzo?
Izvi tingati mungagara nehubu mumba here, hubu yakachaiva inedzimba zvemumba macho. Popinda vasina vasina chinhubu.
Ndizvozvo. Saka apa muri kukurudzira mutungamiri wenyika, mutungamiri webato vaRobert Mugabe kuti vabvise amai mujuru.
Ya, ndizvo zviripo pakuti wakaramba wana mubato wachagona kukuwadzwa zvakare, kuti kuti akagara pane zvaari kuda kwaari. Saka dai nani angagara abuda.
Aiwa, maita basa mukoma Moses. Hanzi chiri musaka chinozvinzwira kana vakateererawo kustudio 7 vari kunzwa ukurudziro yenyu yekunzi aiwa chibudai zvinhu zvichakanaka. Ndizvozvo. Thank you so much, Gibbs.
Yes, kuye baba Sibanda lokukona icingweni baba.
Ngikona.
Ye, mase sikhangele lapha baba Sibanda uzwele lapha umnumzana Ndlovu esithi upresident kathesi sikhuluma nje kalalungelo lokuthi adinge lumuntu ongathatha isikhundla sakhe. Uthi lokho vela kukhangelelwanga ngoba isekelo sabo sibili seZANU-PF asikukhulumi konke lokhu so ke nxa kunjalo ubona ngazani pho kuyiwa ngaphi la ngibona
umnumzana uNdlovu phela lingakhohlwa ukuthi ku-Central Committee ngakho-ke kufanele ananzele ukuthi uthini. Ngimbona mina ngumuntu ohluze amazwi wakhe kamnandi ukwenzela ukuthi phela ephuma lapha abafana bezana basoze bamdonsa bathi kathi wena ubusithini. Iqiniso ukuthi siyazi phela ukuthi uPresident uMgabe khangelelanga ukuthi yena uzaphila azafike i-1000 years ukhangela ukuthi ngelinye ilanga uzadlula emhlabeni njalo sezazi ukuthi usegugile njalo uyakwazi ukuthi ngendlela yokuguga kwakhe lokhu sokufanele kulungiselelwe phela ukuthi uzathatha ngemva kokuthi yena esekhiye isihlalo ngubani kumbe esengasekho. Kubuye kube segcikeni ukuthi ukuthuma asekwenze umkakhe unkosikazi uGrace Mgabe kutshengisa ukuthi phela la usezizwela ukuthi hayi amathambo akasaqina ngakangako. Nxa esenza njalo kutshengisa ukuthi la nxa kuyikuthi mhlawumbe kuliqiniso ukuthi iconstitution yezana engakaze ngiyibone kayikhulumi ngokuthi kudingwa njani ozasale khokhela nxa umkhokhelo khona sephumile. Kutshengisa ukuthi uPresident Mugabe nalokho usekucabanga sokusengqondweni zakhe njalo usenza imisebenzi ethize ekhangelane lakhonokho ngoba sikubona kusenzakala ebandleni. Ngakho ngithi mina ngibona ukuthi okubhalwe esisekeleni sombuso wezanu kungabe kulobubelo kangako endabeni leyi ngendlela ukuthi phela ukulwisana okuhambelana lobukhokheli sokukhona njalo kuqhubekela phambili. Ngakho ngibone ngani mina lokho besikuthi ukuthi hayi uPresident Mugabe is going ahead with a plan to replace himself, and on this I respectfully disagree with Magaisa. I don't certainly think that Mugabe thinks he's going to live forever. I think he knows that he's going to pass away one day, and he has vested interests that are going to stay after him. That includes his family and children. And Mugabe has had the fortune that many dictators haven't had in the world, which is to be challenged by strong opposition over a very long stretch of time, which is a period for thinking and reconstructing your ideas. And I think one of the things that Mugabe knows certainly is that if he tries to replace himself with someone who's not a strong man or a strong woman, that person will fall away very quickly before his children can all receive their last molar teeth. For that reason, he will be leaving them in terrible danger. And the fact that he has allowed Grace Mugabe to jump into the fray is a clear indication to me that he shares the fears that I hoped he would have, that his children and his close associates would be in trouble when he's not there. And he's trying to solidify that question. I think that's a very important question to him. I don't think Mugabe is thinking about the next few years. He's thinking about the next decades when his children and his close associates and family are going to be here while he is no longer there to wave the gavel and stop the hyenas.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spanda, and stay on the line, Jonga.
Gibbs tiseta pedza chirongwa tangotizivise vateereri nezvemusangano wakaitwa wesangano revakarwa hondo reZimbabwe Liberation Veterans Association wakaitwa kumasvingo kupera kwesvondo. VaChristopher Mutsvangwa ndo vakasarudzwa kuva chairman vachiteverwa navaHeadman Moyo vanenge vari mutevedzeri wasachigaro kouya vaVictor Matema Danda ndo vanenge vari munyori mukuru, vaRobert Ncube vari mubati wehomwe, vaFrancis Nando vari vanodzidzisa zvematongerwo enyika political commissar, navaMalaki Mpofu vari munyori wezvesecurity kudzivirirwa kwesangano kana kwenyika, koita Mai Mandi Chimene vari munyori wezvekubudiswa kwamashoko. Ndo utungamiri hutsva mushure mekubviswa kwavaJabulani Sibanda.
Thank you so much for that information, Jonga. Now for a question and answer session like yes or no. So the question today is this the end of Mr. Mchuru's political career? Mr. Makaisa, yes or no?
I don't think so.
Mr. Ndlovu, yes or no?
No.
Mr. Spanda, yes or no?
Emphatic, yes.
Sorry, we're out of time and we have to leave it there. We wish to thank our guests this evening, Dr. Alex Makaisa, former advisor to MTCT leader Morgan Tsvangirai. He's also a political analyst based in Britain. Mr. David Ndlovu, thank you so much. He's a ZANU-PF Central Committee member. And Mr. Nkululeko Spanda in Huddersfield University, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks also to our listeners and viewers who joined us tonight on Live Talk. Join us again tomorrow. This is Jonga Kandemiri in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Gibbs Dube. Good night, Zimbabwe.